So, welcome, dear all, to this wonderful webinar. I'm Marie Verhoef-Cohen. I'm the president of Women for Water Partnership and part of this organizing team for these webinars. Women for Water Partnership, in conjunction with the partners NetWwater and Soroptimist International of Southwest Asia, has organized a series of 8 case studies webinars in October and November, and this is number 2. These webinars were made possible through a grant of SEI, Stockholm Environmental Institute, in partnership with the government of Sweden and their Asia Strategic Collaborative Fund, which aims to foster regional cooperation and policy dialogue for sustainable development and environmental sustainability through capacity building, knowledge sharing, and increased collaboration. Please know that this session will be recorded. You just saw when we passed the structure of this event that we have a short introduction, that we have a short video, then we see the presenter of the case studies, the explanation of the discussants, which is going to be an expert discussant and a young water professional. And then we have questions and answers. The question and answers are for all of us. So can you please put your questions in the Q&A or in the chat, whatever you want, and we try to answer them all. The whole webinar will be seen on the YouTube channel of Eventbrite Women Water Climate .eventbrite.com. So I think it's now time that we can introduce the video. First and foremost, it is to give you a little impression of the area and the country where this webinar is being kept. Amrita explains in that video the drinkPani clubs, where young water volunteers from 2 secondary schools are being trained for water samples. But first, have a look, and then we'll come back on the presentation. Enjoy.
Youth are the leaders of today and tomorrow. There can be win-win situation if the involvement of youth can be considered seriously with the fact youth are the best learners and contributors at the same time. This is a part of ongoing doctoral research where water supply and quality monitoring with emerging technologies is the main focus area. Here, youth are the key actors as young water volunteers assigned officially in the water clubs, named drinkPani clubs, with intensive training and the tools for water sampling, data collection, test, reporting, and sharing under youth-led participatory sensing YPS model in progress. For the pilot case study, 2 schools named Janapriya Higher Secondary School and Gurukul Bidashram were chosen to cover the areas of 2 selected water supply schemes of Pokhara Metropolitan City, Nepal. Now, with their regular workshops, seminars, and training sessions, including consultations with water utilities, other stakeholders and advisors, young water volunteers tend to support climate-resilient water safety plan of the respective water supply schemes. In most of the developing countries, the main priority is given to the quantity aspect of water supply to that of quality, which plays a vital role to govern the public health in that region. And the important issue is there's no data available on water supply and quality monitoring, which makes it complicated to understand and to analyze the situation properly to take necessary actions required. In addition, youth in general lack adequate information on water supply, quality, sanitation, hygiene measures, climate crisis, and actions needed. These measures are always important to build a sustainable future and can be realized more in the critical situations like pandemic for now and all other times. Furthermore, it can be seen women groups and their local knowledge capacities are also not properly valued, which makes a huge difference to have a good balance in the society. Therefore, this research initiative aims to support in filling knowledge and data gap and converting that data to information communication into evidence-informed decision making.
आई थिङ्क आइसिटी अथवा इन्टरनेटको प्रयोगले चाहिँ हामीले एकैचोटि धेरैभन्दा धेरै कन्ज्युमरहरूसँग पुग्न सक्छौँ। जस्तै कुनै दिन पानी आएन भने एकैचोटिमा धेरै मान्छेहरूले त्यो कुराहरू रिपोर्ट गर्न सक्छन् र सजिलै सम्बन्धित निकायसम्म पुग्न सक्छ।
फिल्टर गर्ने कि उमालेर खाने, ठाडै चिसो पानी नखाने।
फोहोर हुन्छ, कीटाणु हुन्छ, त्यही भएर सिधै खान हुँदैन।
वाटर स्टोर गरेर चाहिँ माथि चाहिँ ह्यान्डपम्प लगाइएको छ। त्यो ह्यान्डपम्पबाट चाहिँ हामीले पानी भरेर यसलाई बोइल गरेर कन्ज्युम गर्न सकिन्छ भन्ने मेरो दिमागमा आएर मैले यही ड्रइङ बनाएको छु।
जब पनि हामी कतै ठाउँमा चेक गर्न जान्छौँ तब चाहिँ मान्छेहरूले हामीलाई सोध्ने गर्नुहुन्छ पानी सफा रहेछ त बाबु भनेर। अनि त्यो कुराले चाहिँ मलाई चाहिँ लाग्छ सोसाइटीमा पोजिटिभ इम्प्याक्ट धेरै परेको छ।
We do believe it is important to infuse right skills and practical knowledge of theoretical background to the young minds, which enable them to think critically and motivate them to solve real-life problems with challenging mindset. It also helps them to understand the importance of research-based learning and encourage them to understand their possibilities to be a volunteer for the good and for better professionalism. So, we've been working the development of suitable design and implementation of youth-led participatory sensing YPS model to enhance drinking water security using ICTs as the main tool, including field kits, water quality sensors, mobile applications, and data dissemination digital platforms like websites, which can also support for research-based learning environment. We've launched our own mobile app and website named drinkPani. It reflects the continuous iteration process with users and advisors since a year to come to this point. We look forward to upscale this model in advancing some tools and targets to serve and support in solving the issues regarding water supply and quality monitoring.
Great. I mean, this is very clear, super clear and understandable. So now I would like to introduce Amrita Gautam. Amrita is currently a PhD research scholar in the Technical University of Cologne in Germany and a civil engineer by profession with a special focus on hydrate informatics. I met Anita through Soroptimist International and Women for Water Partnership. Amrita founded, together with a group of research interns, as you could have seen in Nepal in the video, the research initiative, and that is called drinkPani. drinkPani simply refers to the term Drinking Water Information Kit. As you have seen in the video, it is a research-based initiative which intends to bridge the gap between water utilities and communities in information flow on water supply and quality with youth as key actors. Amrita, the floor is yours. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Marit, for the wonderful introduction. Receiving support from everyone for my ongoing doctoral research and drinkPani initiative. I'm thankful to each one of you who are present here today or listen us afterwards on behalf of my universities as a researcher, drinkPani family as team lead, and SI Kulumba as its president, Soroptimist International SI Kulumba. And here I begin to tell the linkage between women, water, and climate, and how drinkPani, a research-based initiative, is trying to make a difference tackling all challenges. Thus, we say proudly, Nepali women and youth are in water and climate action. Here, some of the pictures also explain about the activities going on in the ground. Next slide, please. And this is just a list of things I'm going to explain now for the rest of the given time today. Here it is about background, problem statement, activities and results, and challenges and way forward. Next slide, please. Safe drinking water and sanitation facilities are essential for human civilization. But we know that not everyone in this world are able to receive all these facilities. According to Joint Monitoring Program, JMP 2017, only about 5.2 billion people used safely drinking water services in 2015. And the developing countries like Nepal is in between 26 to 50% in proportion of population using safely managed drinking water services in the same year. Next slide, please. And we also know how crucial the relation between water and public health is. In this graph, in the left side, it shows the proportion of the population using improved source and the case of E. coli detection in the developing countries like Bangladesh, Nepal, Ghana, and Congo. Referring to Nepal data, it explains here about 91% of the population has got access to improved source, and more than 70% of the population has got access of the improved source, but with E. coli detection. This indicates the need of proper monitoring mechanism in its place. The second graph here shows about 2.2 million people die from waterborne diseases like diarrhea each year, where 90% of these deaths are of children, mostly from developing countries. In the context of Nepal, about 44,000 children die every year under the age of 5 with a lack of safe drinking water and poor sanitation situation. Next. Next. Yes, thank you. Out of these issues mentioned here and in the video you saw, the questions come ahead. And the important question for me and my team is, do we have the regulation in drinking water quality monitoring mechanism? This directs to other questions as well. Are we able to involve youth at the center of monitoring initiatives? Does it really support? And what is a suitable design for this kind of involvement? How about data accuracy, reliability, and sustainability of the model? And how about utilizing the knowledge of local women in this process? Next slide. And this picture here, this map, it shows the location of the case study area. I believe all of you who are attending this session know where the Nepal lies. And in the Nepal, our case study area, Pokhara Metropolitan City, it lies inside the Gandaki province and inside Kaskei district. Here the picture shows as well. And this Pokhara Metropolitan City is the largest metropolitan city of our country right now after merging from sub-metropolitan city and Leknath municipality. And this is one of the touristic places, attractive touristic places of our nation. Next slide. So this information, as this is one of the biggest metropolitan city and the attractive places of our country, this gives the understanding for people that they can receive more opportunities in this place. So rapid urbanization is taking place in this area, and other stresses come to this aspect with the stress to natural resources, thus to water sources as well. So high demand and no sufficient supply, also in terms of drinking water supply, including adequate quality, is the problem. So the context of rapid urbanization is clearly visible in the second figure as well, where the land use and land cover map is seen from 1988 to 2016. So in 1988, the built-up area with red dots, and when we see it in the 2016, the visibility is clear how big portion the built-up area is taking its place. Next slide. Coming to the objective of the ongoing doctoral research and the drinkPani research-based initiative, it intends to bridge the gap between water utilities and communities in information flow on water supply and quality, with youth as key actors and ICTs as the main tool to navigate the path to reach policymakers for evidence-informed decision making. Next slide. So this picture, this slide shows the methodological approach of the activities we are doing in the field. And it also explains here the condition from the supply system to decision making in a loop process. So making it in a summary, the youth-led participatory sensing model that our research is proposing is to support in surveillance monitoring, where water utilities lack the sufficient and effective manpower for regular monitoring. Though given the equipments and tools to test and share the data of water supply and quality monitoring for effective communication flow, which is not happening in most of the cases in the context of Nepal and all the developing countries, with the understanding we have been looking through the literatures as well. So this information in this figure explains about how different aspects of water supply and quality is being considered in our conceptual model of youth-led participatory sensing, and which different aspects we are taking into consideration, so that we are not just looking into social aspect, but as well the technical aspect and the governance aspect. And we are also looking it into a scientific perspective to validate the to check the data and also verify and validate in a regular process, also checking the sustainability aspect of the model, and making it a tool to support the regulation of drinking water monitoring mechanism. And thus this information goes and support for evidence-informed decision making, and the loop goes on as the water resources and the water supply system exist, and the decisions has to be made. Next slide. Yeah, as I already explained in the video, we have recently launched our own mobile application and a website named drinkPani, and it is the result of continuous iteration since more than a year. Here in the figure, you can also see how our website and how our mobile application looks like. And drinkPani, we believe how these digital tools should support for water supply and quality monitoring process. And we all know water works in the first line of defense to drive healthy living, and drinkPani believes in shaping digital water future. Next slide. As we have been telling how the modality is taking its place in the ground, this picture explains about young water volunteers and their contribution to support for the data and also for their own learning. So it's a co-learning process. And here in the first picture, in the picture where you can see the E. coli detection in the quantifying process of membrane filtration test, and also students are taking data in the field. And the third figure here explains about the presence and absence of total coliform. And it is not the advanced process, but just to understand whether the coliform is present or not. And it takes just 22 to 48 hours to understand this detection. And for the quantifying the E. coli process, membrane filtration test can be taken in the next step. And in the picture here, where our young water volunteer is conducting the membrane filtration test, and yeah, she is. We can see how she is with the equipment in the place, and how she is being concentrated with all the precautions she has to meet. And with the
can you think of your time little, because I know you still need someone else
thank
to
you.
come in.
Yeah,
yes.
thank you, Marit, for giving me the time. And yeah, this information also explains that young water volunteers under youth-led participatory sensing detected E. coli in more than 80% of the sampling points. Here it explains as well. So yeah, our young water volunteers are being active in the ground and has been working with their passion to understand and share. And today we have also a young water volunteer with us, and this also explains that how we are doing our work with the expected problems, and recently with the coronavirus pandemic with the unexpected problems, we are also utilizing the innovative ways to collect information and share at our best, also to capacitate our young water volunteers. And she will explain about her experiences directly in this platform. So we will welcome now Chitiz Thapa as our young water volunteer here. Welcome, Chitiz.
Thank you, Amrita Gautam ma'am. There's so much out there to explore and experience. Is what life is about. Life have given me a chance to experience many wonderful things through being a member of drinkPani Water Club. It's been 1 year and 2 months since I have joined drinkPani Water Club. This journey has provided me a lot of memories to rejoice in the rest of my life. During this journey of drinkPani Club, I also got to know about different water parameters such as EC meters, pH meter, turbidity test, and also got to know about membrane filtration test. And during field observation, I especially got to know that practical theory is much needed for better understanding. I also got to know what impact does water parameters have on public health if they increases or decreases. In drinkPani Water Club, we are using different technologies like mobile apps, websites, etc. And also we are given workshop to know about climate change and its impact. drinkPani Club has also provided me many golden opportunities, such as being part of Karkhana Nepal and now to be a part of bootcamp and international webinar. This bootcamp has also helped me a lot. This campaign motivates me, encourages me, and also has to boost up my confidence. This campaign helped and taught me to keep belief and keep faith in myself. To be very honest, at initial phase, I was a bit scared and worried in drinkPani Water Club because I didn't know about anything about the campaign. But later on, I found it very interesting and amazing because it was aware all of us and our locality about the condition of the water we all are drinking. So I feel very blessed to get chance to work with drinkPani Water Club and get chance to experience all the moments. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. This
Marit?
is incredible. I think that, do you still want to come back?
Yeah, 1 more minute. Yeah,
okay.
Thank you so
yeah,
much.
because you're far over time, but okay, I'll give you 1 more minute.
Thank you so much. So next slide, please. Yeah, this is the information about the bootcamps and storytelling series we have been doing, as I already explained. And this also explains about the challenges and the way forward. So next slide. Thank you. So this comes with the note of thanks and acknowledgement we want to do from this platform. Thank you so much, everyone who has been helping us to come to this point, and we look forward to collaborate together. Thank you so much. Thank you, Marit. Thank you so much,
Okay,
everyone.
well, thank you, Rita. What a great initiative. And this is what we need for the future, to make the youth aware of the importance of water and wastewater management. And we all know that there is a big gap of information and data. Many countries are working on data collection, on sex-disaggregated data, and and in this research, it tries to bridge that communication and the data sharing gap between water supply schemes, community, and decision maker, and at the same time involves the youth, which is absolutely fabulous. I think you made our webinar, dear Kitty. I don't know how to pronounce your name exactly, but it is really lovely. You sounded so confident. So I would like to introduce now our expert discussant, who will have 10 minutes max. And I would like to give the floor to Dr. Sudan Panti, the expert, and he has been working for 20 odd years in the government of Nepal in water supply and sanitation under the Department Water Supply and Sewage Management, but also in that period he worked up to now in the World Health Organization Nepal, with a keen interest in the area of environmental health, especially the formulation and implementation of national environmental health related policies, strategies, and plans. And Dr. Panti, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Marit. Am I audible?
Absolutely wonderful.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. Also, thank you, Marit, you and your team for inviting me, giving this opportunity, and also Amrita and her team. Whatever Amrita, she presented and she shown the video, most of the things are very clear. And anyway, I would like to enforce something why this kind of drinkPani is important for Nepal, not only for Nepal, maybe it can be used in other countries also. And second thing, what could be the challenge and what could be the opportunity, the next thing. If we talk about the Nepal water supply coverage, maybe Amrita, she highlighted a bit more about the globally, but in case of Nepal, basic water supply coverage so far in Nepal is about 90%. If we talk about the safely managed water supply, that SDG mentioned on the global SDG 6.1 target, that is the only 27% in Nepal, very little. And why this is? Because we had one survey called mixed survey, that is the multiple indicator cluster survey Nepal government did. And from that survey, what revealed, almost about 81.1% water sources, they are contaminated with fecal contamination, that is the E. coli that Amrita also mentioned. And at source level, that means the point of collection, that is the concentration, and at household level, it's even more, that is 82.2% in 2014 survey. And recently we had new mixed survey report. They revealed the concentration of the E. coli at source is a bit less, that is only 75.3%. Yeah, that comes almost Amrita's result also. But at household level, it increased from 82.2% to now 85.1%. That means huge increase in the contamination at household level. That is because of during the distribution or during the handle. These are the problem. And obviously, because of those contamination, Nepal is suffering outbreak of diarrheal disease like cholera. It is very often in pre-monsoon and monsoon season. And people used to think this is only because of open defecation practice in Nepal. And that's why we are very great to share our history about the open defecation free. That last year Nepal declared the first open defecation free country among those who were facing the open defecation. And it was held in 30th September 2019. Just we celebrate 1 year of that. And for that, community-led total sanitation, that is CLTS, was one of the campaign. But on top of that, school-led total sanitation, SLTS, that is the school student, they came up to stop the open defecation practice. And it was started from Nepal, and it was in 2006. And from SLTS, many students, they become the changing agent for the sanitation, and they declare school area or school catchment as an open defecation free catchment area. 100, thousands like that. The involvement of the students were amazing in the open defecation free campaign. Likewise, we have to learn so many things from open defecation free campaign. And I can highlight here 3 main areas, lesson learned from ODF. That is one, like sanitation movement, we must have water quality movement and hygiene movement. And second thing is school children are really changing agent. How can use them in this kind of campaign? That is the second most important things. I realize that. And third thing is the priority should be given where the risk is high. That means risk-based approach should be applied, not only in sanitation. In sanitation, we apply this approach where normally in Tarai bed, there was much more risk with open defecation. We focus on that area. Likewise, in water supply also, we should apply this risk-based approach. That is the normally we call water safety plan, and Amrita also mentioned about climate resilient water safety plan. This is the actually risk-based approach, or we can say input monitoring. Normally in before 2006, even WHO used to have just output monitoring. That is the in-product monitoring. WHO has given list of the parameters for the drinking water. 100, thousands parameter, it is not possible to monitor all the parameters. That's why the new concept, that is the input monitoring. In input monitoring, normally what we do kind of sanitary inspection. Just students, young voluntary students, they go for the sanitary inspections, and they can find some of the chance of the contamination, the way of the contamination, possibility of the contamination, and they focus for the confirmation of that contamination. That is called the input monitoring or the water safety plan. At this point, I can give you one example of USA, that was Milwaukee 1993 outbreak. It is well known, cryptosporidium outbreak, and it is in the American history, this is the one of the most very serious or the largest outbreak in American history. And in a span of 2 weeks, more than 400,000 people were become ill, and 104 deaths were recorded at that time, just almost like this corona or COVID-19 pandemic. Almost same kind of outbreak was there. After that, they realized, let's go for the input monitoring or the water safety plan. The water safety plan is nothing, just an approach to ensure the safety of drinking water using comprehensive risk assessment and risk management activities that covers all steps from catchment to consumer. Most effective means of consistently ensuring the safety of drinking water supply. That's why this approach, it is the systematic approach. It has some monitoring activities. Not only monitoring, it starts for the team building in the team. In those example Amrita shared, in both of the utilities, they have at least 50% women are there. There is the involvement of the women. And in this water safety plan, after this team building, they go for the analysis of the system, and they go for the identifying the risk or the hazards. After identifying the risks and hazards, they go for the control measures and improvement plan. And after that, they need monitoring. That two type of monitoring. One is they need one operational monitoring they do themselves. Another is the kind of third-party monitoring. For third-party monitoring, by the regulation, Ministry of Health and Population and its agencies should go for the regularly for the third-party monitoring, but there is big gap. There is no resources, there is no manpower, and that's why these young youth volunteers, they can fill that gap. And that's why this, I think, this is the very good opportunity for the water quality surveillance, or what third-party monitoring, or even we can, sometime we can say, audit of the water safety plan. That Ministry of Health and its agency is supposed to perform or do, but there is big lack of the manpower, and that's why the concept of using this youth volunteer to fill those gaps. And they started to do this filling those gaps is on behalf of third-party monitoring, and they started. And for that, as Amrita, she already mentioned what kind of parameters normally they have to perform, what kind of activities they do. On top of that, I can add also not only testing, they must have go for the sanitary inspection. And there, obviously, there are so many challenges.
Can I remind you of the time?
Yeah, sure.
Because,
I will conclude in 1
minute.
meter.
Okay.
There are challenges like interest. Maybe students may they not have so many interest, or they may not give the time. And the training, as Amrita already mentioned, they should give proper training, and they should be very compatible for the testing, and incentive and motivation. Another challenge, we should provide them regularly, and sometimes security issue also there to go at household level and to test. Sometimes some guardian, they raise the issue of the security and coordination among the stakeholders. That is another challenge. And obviously sustainability. In these two schools, maybe Amrita, like research students can go and support, but everywhere it's not possible. And finally, budget and support resources is always constant. And for that, to roll out to other utilities, water quality as the movement should be initiated by the government. Government should have the policy and plan to involve the students, and they may put the water quality methodology in the syllabus of the student, and some budget and resource should be allocated for that activities. In this way, finally, we can verify the water safety plan, we can support the SDG 6.1 monitoring, and we should create the data bank, and finally, we can contribute the country on the improvement of the public health. Thank you. With this words, over to Marit.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Sudan Panti. This was very interested in, and I think the best thing is to immediately, because I can already see a lot of questions, so we'll definitely come back to you, and also, of course, to Amrita. But first, which is also very, very interesting, I would like to introduce our young water professional, which is Vinci Abraham. Vinci is based in Mumbai, India, and is the founder of Blue Wave Impact, BWI, a global public-private partnership accelerator platform. And Vinci is the campaigns manager, the national campaigns manager at the Purpose Climate Lab, a global campaigning organization in the climate change space. Vinci Abraham is an international recognized speaker on climate, water and urban issues at the United Nations and other platforms. And last year, she was recognized by the World Economic Forum as a global shaper. So what else can we want than joining Vinci and give her views on the future Thank you, Vinci.
Thank you. That was incredible. I have to say that it's just a pleasure to be here. I want to extend my thank you to the wonderful Women for Water Partnership. I want to extend my thanks to SEI, to Amrita, because I know that I'm here on this panel speaking about her beautiful case study. And what an honor it is to be also speaking alongside with Dr. Sudan. I think it is brilliant that we are talking about young people and women and involving them in water and climate action. Susie, I had this one slide. Could we just show that? So guys, I just need to really tell you, I'm not much of a slides person. I just keep it very simple. Just one slide for you to see what I was thinking. And I'm really, really keen on getting more questions from you and just interacting with all of you. But just so that we understand what we're trying to do we're here talking about the role of women and youth in water and climate action. I firmly believe that this, as we have stepped into 2020, the urgency for achieving SDG is very much apparent and very clear. But without bringing young people and women into the space to achieve those targets, we're never going to get there. I think time and again, we've kind of understood that this is the way forward. This is how we actually achieve all the goals and targets that were set under these two SDGs, SDG 6 and 13, which is clean water and sanitation and climate action. I was reflecting a lot on Amrita's case study, and I was just trying to think to myself, what has she not done? I mean, she's really talked about everything. She's kind of moved with the times, and it just came to me that there were certain things that was exemplary about this case study that I wanted to bring out. And this is also based on my experience of working in India and working with some different partners across the world. And I've seen that this is a better way of working, keeping in mind the core things that Amrita's case study really teaches us. The first thing, obviously, that comes to my mind is the whole aspect of participatory decision making. I think young people and women are not just any kind of stakeholders, but they are the key stakeholders, and they need to be playing an equal part in decision making. I don't think we emphasize this enough, but we need to be starting to talk about decentralizing power. I know I don't come from a very technical background, so I probably will not have too much of insight on that front, but I do feel that what really makes it successful, what makes the role of women and youth successful is when we start thinking about decentralizing power and ensuring that young people and women, these two key stakeholders, are being empowered through the process. Obviously, there are different methods to do this. In Amrita's case study, you guys have heard about the committees that were made and the empowerment that the people, the kids who were part of those committee felt, or the people, the local folks who were part of the committee felt. So I think there needs to be more emphasis on creating these kind of decentralized power structures. That should be one of the key factors that projects or case studies like this, teach us that we need to start thinking about decentralizing power. I feel that there are fewer opportunities to engage decision makers currently. So that means for me, I look at it as a big gap, but increasing those opportunities to engage decision makers is something that we definitely need to be thinking about. How can we bring young people and women into the decision-making space? Can we transfer ownership from these power structures, this traditional power structure, over to them? Finally, I just want to kind of tell you a little bit of a campaign that I ran as part. This is not me, sorry, I just need to correct that. This is run by my organization in a city in India called Bengaluru. Bangalore is a huge city. It's one where which is very popular for the IT sector and so on and so forth. So there is a very young urban crowd over there. And we thought, what was the best way that we can start talking about climate action in Bangalore? There were young people who were not engaging in climate action before. Over here at PCL, what we did was that we ran this campaign where we identified young champions. We started, firstly, we gave them the tools, we gave them the understanding all about climate action, about what is happening in their cities, what is happening in terms of water, what is happening in terms of climate, how they are all affected by it. And then we positioned them as champions that went to these decision makers themselves. And I thought it was a very cool way of doing it, and it kind of adds very much into what even Amrita did in her case study at drinkPani, where she brought in young people, gave them the tools, and therefore positioned them as not just any kind of stakeholders, but as key stakeholders who are affecting decision-making processes. The second thing that actually came to my mind while thinking about the case study was about how technology can be leveraged. I know the younger generation, we are all into technology. We all have digital tools that we love using. But can that really be a leverage that we can use at this point of time? If anything, I do believe that the whole COVID pandemic crisis has taught us that technology is something that we need to be leveraging more for future work in climate, in water. And I think it just demonstrates that the need for us to be going back to bringing young people, because there is this tendency among young people to be very creative. Let's channel that creativity. Let's bring that in. Let's create modules. Let's create opportunities for them to channel all of that creativity, the technology, into the space to really reform and revolutionize the way we think about water and climate action. Also, the other thing that does come to my mind is about the emphasis on data. While I would love to say that, data is a big aspect about, to make a campaign or any kind of work super successful, I have to also admit over here that when we say that climate action, so to say, requires local knowledge, I think that is a beautiful way of saying it, because local knowledge usually is not given as much as credit as as you would probably for any other kind of knowledge. So I do feel that somewhere we need to go back and say that the data that is being collected on the ground by our youth champions, by women from the locality, also needs to be credited as quality data. I do see young people and women as incredible sources of information. They bring with them so much of local knowledge that we need to be leveraging for future campaigns. Again, just going back to a quick campaign that I ran in another state in India called Uttar Pradesh. We used the time of the COVID pandemic. We kind of reached out to faith communities. And I know that this is like another stakeholder group that's being brought into the picture, but just interesting to see how we can leverage technology, how we can leverage local knowledge to get people to start acting about around climate action. We got faith leaders to start talking about clean water. We got the community to start sending some recommendations online through WhatsApp, through Facebook, to just get a sense of what they are thinking about when it comes to cleaner environments at this point of time. So that's another quick example. And there was this one other thing that I do want to focus on before I wrap up my session and my aspect of my input on Amrita's presentation, the whole finance bit. I think this is a very tricky part. When we are talking about such great work, I would love to see case studies like this or initiatives like this really scaled up. There's so many challenges when it comes to finance. In India, we have a mandate, and this is something that I love talking because my background is also slightly in it, where companies are mandated to spend some of their profits towards social responsibility projects. We call it the Corporate Social Responsibility Initiative. And it's mandated by law. And I think that is also, a need for us to start thinking about finance and how do we scale this up? How can we bring it to different countries, to developing countries? In India, obviously, we have this option of CSR, but are there other modules? Are there other ways that we can involve and scale up these kind of initiatives? Obviously, having the government mandated and bringing in private players, exploring models like PPPs, are brilliant ways of doing it. And this is kind of something that we are trying to also do at BWI, the company that I founded, where we work with these kind of unlikely partners, bring them together, get companies to start really thinking about climate action. And I would like to just kind of end what I wanted to say with another example from the Purpose Climate Lab, where we worked with older generations and we basically got pensioners, especially women pensioners in UK, to start thinking about climate finance. We basically asked them to see if their finances, their portfolios in terms of pensions, are they going to companies which were risky financial climate, how do I say this? But just to say that they have an aspect where they are somewhere contributing, these portfolios are somewhere contributing to a lot more of climate related risks. But we got them through this campaign to just start thinking about where even they are investing their money. So there are different ways that we can actually look at projects like this and finance these kind of projects. Obviously, I'm just looking at CSR in this because I really do feel that there is a credible way of going about it. But just laying it all there for all of us to hear that there is a very clear need for young people and women to be brought into the space. There needs to be more institutions which are empowering young people and women to speak up and be part of decision making. Secondly, we need to be leveraging technology and leveraging crisis response through our initiatives. And finally, we should start thinking very carefully when it comes to what are the options available financially to scale up projects like this. Back to you, Harriet.
Sorry. Yes, thank you very, very much. Now, I don't think I could have asked for any better panelists than all of you. And maybe we can now go back onto a screen where we see all the panelists, because we're now going to have a discussion, and there have been quite a number of questions. So first of all, Vinci, thank you very much. And your points have been the points that Women for Water has made already for years. I mean, ever since the Dublin Principle 3 came in, which was in 1992, where they said women are pivotal to the water sector and the process, we still are fighting for that. It is still not implemented. So, and that is why we wanted the youth come in and the young water professionals to tell us, we obviously have done something wrong, or maybe it's been the time, but please continue on this. And you're doing that, which is great. Another one, of course, was already mentioned, that is the data collecting. Why can't we all get data collecting? Also civil data collecting, we have to look into that. And then the big thing is finance. I mean, all these projects are wonderful, all these procedures are wonderful, but how do we get finance to actually implement it? I mean, we've already found out in researches that women organizations and women projects, and this includes youth, hardly get, I will not even mention the percentage because it's too embarrassing, hardly get any money from anyone. So thanks for really highlighting that. then going on to the questions, because that is the main importance, I think. That's why we wanted this to be interactive. And I'll go back to maybe to Amrita, or maybe to all of you, just think. So what are the potential ways to fund youth-led projects in replicating the results in other adjacent areas? We're now talking about a specific area in Nepal, but I mean, already looking at the chat box, I can see that Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, they all would like to know how can we continue and customize versions as per the requirements. So who feels happy to start answering that? But please, can I ask you to keep your answers short?
I think Dr. Punti would be the best person to start with the answer, because this is also my question from behalf of the person who is leading one project, youth-based. So Dr. Punti can start the answer, I guess.
Okay, well, Dr. Panti, it's up to you.
Thank you. In case of Nepal, yeah, this water quality surveillance is the part of water quality monitoring. That is the regular or the requirement of the government. Ministry of Health and its agency should go for that. But right now there is no manpower. That's why if Ministry of Health, they provision some budget, some for water quality surveillance, and that budget can go to the school level through the local government. Now in Nepal, there are 753 local governments, and through the local governments, if we can make some budget for the water quality surveillance, and there is some tie-up between the school, some more piloting school for the water quality surveillance, and that will be the wonderful. And water quality surveillance, for water quality surveillance, there is no need of any license, any specific qualification. The students, the volunteer, they are enough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone who would like to react on that as well, or shall we go to the next question?
Yeah, he summarized, I think, all the aspects, so we can go to the next question, I guess.
Yes, okay, thank you. Then one of the questions is climate change. Did that affect the water situation in Nepal and maybe in different countries as well? Amrita, can you?
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you, Marit, for the question. Absolutely. That's also the case where Nepal, we all know our country is a mountainous country, and we've got that kind of different geographical terrain. In the small country, we have got different climate variabilities and weather conditions. So, and the different impact level of climate change and then extreme events we suffer every year, not just like one time of a year, but different climate events we suffer. This has given a huge risk in the water supply system. For an example, when we have landslides in the rainy season, and also when we have glacier coming apart from the natural system, and also when there are like different extreme climate situation from Himalayan region to Tarai region. So this all aspects has given the breakage of the water supply system, and also it's hard to support our community people with the limited structure we have, as Dr. Panti already explained, and also we have explained in our presentation. Also Vinci explained about how crucial our water supply system is, and how do we not have the all equipped situation in our context. So this all situation makes it complicated. That's why we are trying our best to implement this kind of like small approaches from our side, so that small initiatives can make a huge difference step by step, and we can also involve government and other international agencies to leverage this effect in another level. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Then we get back to, in a way, where also Vinci already looked at, is how can these youth-centric models be involved in the mainstream? in the national and maybe even international policy and decision making of the water supply and quality, the quality monitoring. I think Vinci already said decentralizing power. Would that be the solution, or and how do you start that? So maybe I'll first give the floor to Vinci, and then to whoever wants to react to that as well.
Thank you for that. Yes, I do feel that decentralizing is the start, but creating processes and creating institutions which have those powers would be the way forward. Creating committees like we have for this project is one way. Empowering those committees is the actual deal breaker, according to me. So I do feel that it always starts with a mandate or with a positioning from the government or from decision makers at the top to involve young people, and then creating those institutions and structures and empowering that. So there are different structures that are there globally. In India, we do have certain youth movements which are very influential and which are working towards combating climate change, but then bringing them into the decision-making space, giving them more chances to interact with decision makers, getting their perspective on policies that affect them, because every policy affects women and children and youth. So bringing their perspectives into the table is the way forward, according to me. So creating those kind of dialogue processes would be an emphasis for me, when it comes to all of these processes that we're talking about.
Okay, thank you very much. Would you like to react to this as well, Amrita, or are you okay with it?
I can, yeah, she's made it really wonderfully, wonderful answer with it. So we can proceed to the next.
Okay, the next question is, first of all, how do you and how should we all involve men in this initiative? Because of course the Dublin Principle was one thing, and it was highlighted, women and youth were highlighted, but only because we were not mentioned. We still not. So I mean, Mohammed says, I mean, how do you get this? How do you get men involved? Because that was the reason why men now are not involved. But the whole water sector, I'm sorry to say, is still very male dominated. And then the other question is, so, and I do believe, I mean, I totally agree. I think we have to do it together. I mean, it's not because we as women or you as youth were not involved that we now have to do it on our own. Let's join hands and really get this going together, because that's the only way to make it really sustainable and to get achievements. But how, he also asked, how do you get to the vulnerable people? I mean, which is always very difficult unless you know the people, the grassroots on the ground. And that is something that we as Women for Water always do. We listen to the grassroots and then try to involve the different levels and show what they really need. So they don't need just a water pump, they need more. And if the water pump is in a place where it's too dangerous for women to go and get water, I mean, it's a simple sort of example, then they don't understand why they don't use that water pump, because there's too much violence. But anyway, so how are you going to join everyone together so that it's really gender equal for everyone? And how do you involve the vulnerable people?
Thank you, Marit, for the question. This is absolutely one of the key aspects we are looking into. That's where we are trying to advocate for this youth-led participatory sensing model, where we are centralizing youth to be part of the main initiative, like taking the central role. But having said this, youth, when we talk about youth, they are the combination of both men and women, like young boy and the young boys and young girls. And having boys and girls in the central part of this initiative, we are also involving local women with their indigenous local knowledge to support them, because mother groups right now, when I can give the example of our case study, mother groups are quite active in different aspects of like bringing solution to different aspects of the issues in the community. And we thought it would be one of the absolute solution when we can already make a systematic process where we can involve them, and then they can not only guide their children in household level, at the same time they can guide their children for this kind of data collection, information sharing. So this structure would be a very systematic flow of information. They can guide their children at home, being mother, like this, like mothers are the best teachers, we say, and at the same time they can also share the information inside the community, like in the perspective of community involvement. And that's why in this model we talk about technology, where water supply system, mobile applications talk about this technological aspect, and involving youth and community people, it talks about social aspect. But these two components are not sufficient when we want to do some projects, as we already said, financial thing, like support of government, local support of local organizations, stakeholders. So there comes also about the institutional governing aspect. So we're trying to combine all these aspects to make it a sustainable approach. Before initiating this project in my doctoral research, I also had opportunity to work in similar aspect of community based water quality monitoring in Brazil. That's where I just got chance to work for about 5-6 months. That was a not sufficient time to deepen down into the grassroots level in the larger extent, and to see the sustainability aspect of the finances as well. But I learned it hard. Unless we make this governance aspect into the place, just not technology and social aspects together, this will not go anywhere. So that's where the knowledge or the lesson learning I'm bringing to this project. And my professors and my local advisor, like Dr. Pant, including Dr. Panti, they have been giving me tremendous support, and also all the stakeholders, organizations, and you, Marit, you have been already giving me different aspects of understanding from Women for Water Partnerships, Soroptimist International. So I'm trying my best to utilize the knowledge, experiences, learning aspects wherever I can, so that we not only advocate for one particular member of the community, like either it's girl or women or like boys or like elder people or younger people. We're trying to combine all aspects of the involvement. It has to be. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And I know you're trying, so but I think it's a good thing, because not all projects and procedures that we do, we involve the grassroots. So it's good that this is mentioned. There are a few questions on the reliability of the data that are collected from the youth. I know you train them, and I know that they get special kits and tools to work with. The intern, the research interns follow up and keep in touch with them. Not only if they're reliable, because I'm sure you will say yes, but are the governments, the water management organizations, are they listening and using that data?
Thank you so much for this very meaningful question. As you said that I will say yes, but I'll not say 100% yes, because that's where my scientific approach lies, like for the long-term replication, because I'm not saying everything, that it's going wonderful. There has to be the situation results from the actual context that we are receiving. So we all know that everything cannot happen overnight. Everything cannot happen in days or weeks. We started with the conceptualization from 2017 in the forefront. I mean, like in the initial aspect, like talking with the different stakeholders, how we can include people from grassroots level, schools, talking with schools and other people. And only after 1-2 years of like hard exercise, like Dr. Panti knows it well, as he is there since the beginning. Only in 2009, around 19 last year, we could start with the actual implementation. With the direct involvement of youth. So we made it in a process that they are officially involved in Water Club. And they are trained like intensive training in one time, and we are giving them follow-up training. And you already mentioned, I really like the realization you did, that we also have our research interns to follow up, because I am not all the time in Nepal, like being a lead person in this research. There are other stakeholders, the research interns, who look up to them directly, being in the ground, like in a regular progression. And we, since digital tools, this is absolute method, we can be communicated right now, and we are in regular communication. And for the data accuracy and reliability, that's how we are trying to investigate in scientific purpose. Only for the month data or 2 months data, or like for some months data, we cannot say like, yes, it works, it doesn't. This has to be evaluated in a longer process. That's how we are doing. So and also students who are doing work, they are also listening here, they are present here, they know what they did wrong, what they did good, so they know how they are also improving. So we are giving them lessons how which things should be done in the right way, or which things they should be considered for the careful work. And and then we will publish our results and recommendation in a timely manners. But we are very positive that things are going in a progressive way. And our listeners and our viewers, you can contact us for the more detailed information, because in this limited time I cannot explain all the viability of the results.
I totally understand that. And then there is a question for Dr. Panti. It is asked, they're asking here, is there any monitoring system at district level or provincial level for groundwater pumping, industrial water treatment? And is there any policy from the government for the management of land use impact on water supplies? So these are two big questions, and it's not only a question I know that are aimed at Nepal, because I know India, Pakistan, it's everywhere. So yes, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Marit, and thank you for the question also, whoever raised. Maybe in Nepal, we have constitution in 2015, and the constitution has given the rights, fundamental rights for the water and sanitation. And after that, so many policy acts, they have been revised. And among those, Environmental Protection Act, that has already new act we have, and every water supply systems and sewerage system, they must have go for the environmental impact assessment. And that is the one condition. And that act also give the provision of the inspector to monitor the water quality if some of the activities, or if some of the industry, they are polluting the water, that is ambient water, they have big punishment for them. In that way, there is the water land use or use of the industry. All these are under the regulation system there is. And as we are talking about the local or provincial level monitoring system, yes, of course, all the water supply utility or water supply systems, they have been categorized either under the local government or provincial government or the central government. If this is under the provincial government or the local government, they have right to monitor, they have right to punish, they have to set the standard for the water supply. In that way, there is Local Government Operation Act. And under this act, they have their own regulations and rules, and they can punish, and there is the system. That is the...
Okay. We are slowly getting to the end, and there is one question, and maybe other questions can be answered through the sky, through the mail, and through our Women Water Climate URL. But it is in a lot of countries all over the world, because SDG 6 is not being accomplished. We are far behind. The water, clean water is one thing, but sanitation is getting is really behind in development. So are there any laws or are there maybe even fines, if there are laws, to prevent open defecation?
Me? Yeah.
Yes. I
Thank
think you're from the government. You have worked there. So
yeah, I work for the government.
yeah.
Yeah. First thing is the social punishment is there. Local body, they have, even sometimes they have given some kind of torture to the people who go for the open defecation. Yeah, making open to them, and kind of torture, kind of punishment. It was really very hard. But in law or in act, it's as a written, there is one thing, one provision. If some people, they pollute the environment, that hamper to someone, and the compensation like that. It is not directly written, this month's amount should be punished for the open defecation, but indirectly there is lot of provision, and people can go against them easily to the court also.
I'm really sorry. I think we can go on for another hour with these discussions. So I would like to thank you all, the panelists, Vinci, Dr. Sudhampati, of course, Amrita, and your wonderful young lady to join us. I thank, of course, SEI and the organizing team and the comms groups. I thank you all. It was the most wonderful presentation. I'm really thrilled, and I hope that you all will look back on our channel, on our YouTube channel, and listen again to this presentation. Thank you very much to all participants. Have a nice evening, afternoon, or morning. Thank you. And I will now leave you all. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Thank you so much, everyone.